Welcome to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I've got two subjects that I want to bring up in this particular episode, and they're all connected. Basically, anybody who, again, has been listening to this show, you know that geopolitics, education, and health are the focus of the show. And yesterday, in a text thread, I received a massive thread. Again, I'm in this text thread with a gal from Texas and Sandy Adams in Michigan and Jesse James as well, host of the Dangerous Info podcast up there in Michigan too. And it is overwhelming of the amount of so-called medical emergencies and deaths that have taken place just within the month of April. Again, this is always something that I've brought up on the show, but I've never really gone at it like this. And the text thread was too good. I texted them back and I said, I'm gonna read these off and ring these off in the order you send them for the next episode, because it's too much and it's too obvious what's happening here. These are all COVID shot related deaths. Again, specifically, I was going to bring it up later, but I will now. Senator Mark Warner, his daughter, 30 some odd years old, very young, also just died. And they strike it up to a lifelong battle with diabetes. Well, as we know, and as I've read on the show, both anecdotally through basic news outlet headlines and, of course, peer-reviewed research articles, diabetics had the COVID shots thrust on them in droves, very specifically, and all it did was amplify any negative effects of their already existing condition of being a diabetic. It made things worse, period. So again, being the daughter of a Democrat senator would probably mean that you yourself are a liberal Democrat, which means you yourself probably fell for the COVID lie also, took the shots, and this is the result. It's all over the country, it's all over the world, and I'm going to say it throughout the episode as you hear these particular stories, but we knew that we were going to see this, and we knew that there was going to be multiple witnesses to this in school settings also, and on field trips and at colleges and universities and everywhere, that this was happening so frequently that the likelihood of there being multiple witnesses to this in any specific case, or again, regardless of how frequent, it was just going to happen. That you can't inject this many people around this many people and then have that many people, a large number, all injected and have them not witness one another fall over and die. And this has again occurred and keeps occurring. It's been going on since the fall of 2020. So I'm going to get into that here in just a little bit. But first, just very quickly, in the Q post, it specifically says track the resignations. That these are not coincidences, that these are not accidental, that the resignations of individuals who run major companies, the CEOs of them, along with, again, political positions in XYZ, that all of them are usually very on purpose. And when it comes to CEOs, in many cases, it's because of lawsuits. Or it's because of other pressure from lawsuits or even law enforcement or even other investigations, even potentially of a military type. So let me just run through a few here, because again, these are not accidental either. This was from Disclosed TV. It says Apple announces that John Ternus will become the CEO on September 1st of 2026, replacing Tim Cook, who is going to remain the CEO until the end of summer, to oversee the transition process. It says Arthur Levinson, who is CEO of Google's anti-aging company Calico, will become Apple's lead independent director. So Tim Cook leaving Apple again, taking in everything that we know about Apple, taking everything that we know about Apple's participation in censorship, Apple's participation in the Obama administration, and then again trying to potentially overthrow Donald Trump's 2020 election, let alone any participation they had in the censorship of the 2016 election, and certainly censorship of the 2020 overthrow. That, I just don't view it as being accidental. When you have a picture that very famously exists of Mark Zuckerberg, and I believe Barack Obama was in the room, and Eric Schmidt and Tim Cook, and the heads of all of these major online companies, whether they be social media or cell phone or software or what have you, all meeting and having dinner together at the same table. And I believe that particular meeting took place before Donald Trump was in office, the first time. Again, that's not a coincidence. That is a coordinated effort to do something that is not going to be good. They're not there sharing notes on cooking recipes. That's not why they all meet. So that's an interesting resignation regarding Apple. Then you have this. You have the resignation of the U.S. Secretary of Labor, Chavez DeRemer. She resigns. And she apparently, having previously been a politician in Oregon, apparently she's resigning for a boatload of unprofessional acts within the Trump administration, within her job. Meeting with her husband while she's supposed to be working on a consistent basis. There were rumors of unprofessionalism, bullying, sexual harassment. I believe someone even accused her of drinking on the job, misappropriating money, taking trips saying that they were business related when in fact they weren't. Again, you would think that the vetting process for these kinds of positions would be better than this. You would think that you would have real character background checks on these people and spend an entire day, if not multiple days, diving into the person's character. But they tend to not do that. Sometimes these people are, again, a handful of them are selected, and then they're just given to an administration, and then they say, well, here are their resumes, pick from one of them, and then sit down and talk with them if you want, or have somebody else talk with them. But again, some of the most immoral people, when they get a little taste of influence, or a little taste of power, or a little taste of money, they abuse it. And it's just disgusting to me. But again, it comes with the territory, and it's remarkably unfortunate. Then you have this. Snapchat's parent, Snap, names Doug Hott as its new CFO, replacing Derek Anderson, who is expected to leave on May 8th. Again, major social media company, Snapchat, very well known for being caught up in numerous lawsuits, I would have to assume, certainly when it comes to sexually related material, taking pictures of minors, taking pictures of themselves, either as adults, sending it to minors. Again, very famously, Anthony Weiner, and that entire case dating back many years ago. But the thing to keep in mind is again, when these CFO and CEO positions start dropping and the resignations start happening and people are being replaced, it's usually because of legal pressure. That's usually the main reason. So that's just a few examples of some of the resignations. But again, anytime a massive resignation shows up, you should pay attention to it, because there's usually a whole lot behind the scenes that a lot of people are never going to see. Again, with that said, I would be remiss if I didn't go to the cue boards just very quickly and tell you that if you type in resignations in the upper right-hand search box on operationq.pub, you get 21 posts containing the word resignations. And it is mind-blowing. Again, a lot of these posts, I'll just read a couple very quickly, or at least parts of them, but they all directly point to the media colluding with these individuals, politicians colluding with CEOs of these companies, and vice versa, and all of them, again, knowingly disseminating information or even leaking information that is false, and how that is directly illegal. So let me give you one particular post here, or I'll give you a few, but here's 2803 on February 18th of 2019. It says, look for placeholder, quote unquote, updates at Patriots Fight. Indictments, arrests in D-Class will force worldwide coverage. Leaks, bribery, collusion regarding media will force resignations with follow-up criminal prosecution. Q. And there's another one here. It's a long post. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But it's 1822 on August 6th of 2018. And toward the bottom, it says they cannot contain or defeat what they do not understand. Is any of this normal? Think sealed indictments count. Think resignations of CEOs. Think resignations of senators. Think resignations of Congress. Think termination of senior FBI. Think termination of senior DOJ. Watergate times 1,000. Attacks will only intensify. Logical thinking. Ask yourself a simple question. Why? Q. And it just goes on and on and on, laying out exactly why these individuals, again, resigned from these positions. In large part, it's not because, they wanted to make more money and they couldn't. It's not because of another job opportunity. It's in large part because, again, they were involved in something illegal. In fact, I'll end with this Q post because it slides right into the next topic, where I'm going to read all these headlines and dive into each one of these stories just a little bit. But this is post 693 on February 7th of 2018. It says, quote, "Make sure the list of resignations remains updated. Important. When does Big Pharma make money? Curing or containing? Cancer/AIDS/etc. Mind will be blown by chain of command. Q." So are these social media companies and a lot of these software companies, are they wrapped up with the pharmaceutical industry? Abso-flippin-lutely they are. So let's get into it. Okay, here we go. Most of these, again, the month of April. Detroit Free Press. Actor Patrick Muldoon suffers heart attack, dies at 57. Died on Sunday, April 19th at age 57, his manager announced. Again, what did a lot of actors and actresses do in Hollywood during the whole COVID lie? They not only pushed it, but they went along with it, they complied, and they took the shots because they also just flat out believed it. This is from WXII NBC Channel 12.com. High Point Police mourns loss of 28-year-old recruit, former firefighter, and military member. The department said that Drake Scheinbarger, a 28-year-old police recruit, died unexpectedly over the weekend. Again, U.S. Army, so he was jabbed, but and certainly used to the jabs and used to being shot up with all kinds of inoculations, but 28 years old. This doesn't happen. Not to mention, again, he was in a position where he was a first responder, and a lot of them took the shots. And as you're going to hear throughout this, a lot of them are first responders. Here's another one. This is from People Magazine, April 18th of 2026. Father of 244 dies in his sleep while on family vacation. I lost the love of my life, my best friend, wife says. Father who died in his sleep while he was on vacation with his wife and 2 children in Thailand. A Cameron Deegan, 44 years old. Unexpectedly, quote unquote. And he was Australian as well. Talk about a country that really pushed the shots. Next one, this is from themirror.com, United States. Former Texas A&M college football star dies unexpectedly at 36. Football star Trent Hunter has died unexpectedly at 36, leaving fans and college football community stunned and mourning the sudden loss. Again, Texas A&M, CIA playground, huge push for the COVID shots. Pushed him on everybody just to participate. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he end up dead? This shouldn't shock anybody, and again, these aren't coincidences. Next one, thespun.com. Angels legend Garrett Anderson has unexpectedly died at 53. Gone too soon, it says. I remember him. I remember watching him play back in the day. He was a great baseball player, no doubt. Anderson played for the Angels from 94 to 2008 before having brief stints with the Atlanta Braves and Los Angeles Dodgers. 2002 World Series champion and 2-time Silver Slugger winner, finished his MLB career with a .293 average, 287 home runs, and 1,365 RBIs. He was inducted into the Angels Hall of Fame in 2011 and announced his retirement also in the same year. There you go. What did he do? Royals honor World Series champ Terrence Gore, who died suddenly at 34. Yahoo Sports. The Royals took time before Monday's home opener against the Twins to deliver a poignant tribute to late MLB speedster Terrence Gore, who died in February at 34 years old. Here's the next one. This is WSB-TV Atlanta Channel News 2, Station 2. Beloved Teacher of the Year, Coach Joey Dean, dies unexpectedly, leaving district in heartbreak. April 13th of this year. Bartow County, Georgia. As students return from spring break this week, one Bartow County high school is coming back to heartbreak after learning of the sudden passing of a beloved teacher and coach. Cass High School posted on Facebook last week that Joey Dean had died. Gentle and strong, loyal, funny, faithful. Unexpected, I would assume. Again, I find it fascinating that in some of these stories, they will say how they died, or what the coroner determined, or even what an autopsy determined. And in many cases, it's just tributes. But in almost no case, in fact, it's in none of these cases, do they say COVID shots? Do they say rampant vaccination? It's never brought up, which means that's usually the thing that it is. People.com, star California high school football player dies suddenly at age 17. Ryder Barnes, there we go, was set to join California Polytechnic State University after graduation. April 13th, 2026. Cause of death was not made available. This next one is from Dolleystown, Pennsylvania. This would be tapinto.net in their education portion of their website. CB East Morning, unexpected death of a sophomore. The school district announced the passing of Samuel Hansen, the son of a CB West teacher. April 8th, 2016. Now, this is an interesting one because they don't say the cause of death, but the way that they respond and the messaging that the district uses, they make it sound like it's a suicide. But it might not be. I have no idea. It says his mother, Megan Hansen, has been a special education teacher at CB West since 2002. Social media messages reacting to the death urged parents to check on their kids, even the ones who seem quote-unquote fine. There are no words that make something like this make sense, quote-unquote. And let's see here. Oh, yeah, but there are things that we can do for this family and for each other. It says by Wednesday night, a GoFundMe page established to help the family had already raised $42,000 of its $50,000 goal. The page was still set up and collecting money for the family on Wednesday night. Donations will be used for funeral expenses, household needs, and so on and so on. Again, the superintendent came out, or the interim superintendent, and said, I also know you will support one another, but please contact your building principal, counselor, or supervisor if you or someone you know could benefit from additional support. Again, I don't know if he killed himself or not, but even so, in an unexpected death, if it's COVID shot related, bioweapon related, they would still phrase it to be vague because they don't want people to believe that if you took these, then anything bad is going to happen to you. It's disgusting. I mean, you would think that they would want to ask questions. Here's another one. This is TimesUnion.com. He was such a light, quote unquote. Family mourns after 19-year-old son's sudden death while playing basketball. April 9th of this year. Mother's sister share memories of Joakim Dennis, who died of cardiac arrest Friday at Clifton Common. Again, collapsing on a basketball court at Clifton Common with multiple witnesses. Now, here's where it says how he died. Didn't say what caused it, but it says how he died. Joakim died of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM. The teen who was studying business at Hudson Valley Community College with plans to enlist in the Navy was diagnosed with the condition in November. Its symptoms, according to the Mayo Clinic, include shortness of breath and chest pain caused by thickened heart muscle, which can make it difficult for the heart to pump blood. It can also cause irregular heartbeats and, as in Joe Kim's cases, sudden death. Well, what caused it? What caused an inflamed heart? Some might say, again, it was genetic, quote unquote, or it runs in the family, or all the other, again, obfuscating that they do when it comes to something like this, because this is when the cognitive dissonance kicks in real hard. I'm going to keep going, of course, and I'm not even a third of the way done. This is the recorder.com, Greenfield Recorder. Greenfield remembers 14-year-old Brightside Brandon. Middle school student Brandon Hoyt died unexpectedly. Residents raise money in support of his family. Seriously, 14 years old, unexpectedly in his sleep. It's not regular unless something irregular happens in society that causes something that wouldn't otherwise be recognizable to all of the sudden be recognizable. It's too obvious what's going on here. And I've said it on the show since the very start, and you have too. You know this also. This is WOWT.com, First Alert Channel 6, Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha North assistant football coach Terry Grigsby dies at 31. Heart attack. Now they list it. Died suddenly from a heart attack at 31. He was a son, a brother, and a coach whose smile could fill a room before he ever said a word, his family said. Again, healthy-looking guy. Nothing big about him. Here's the next one from thesun.com. Tragic loss. College football coach Stephen Miller dies suddenly at just 29 years old after suffering medical issues recently, quote unquote. Former lineman at Arizona State died suddenly at 29 years old. Miller died Wednesday night, with his death being confirmed in a report from Chris Cartman of the SunDevilSource.com. Miller had some medical issues recently, quote unquote. We're taught in this business to emotionally separate ourselves from what we're covering, Cartman said. Impossible to do this in this situation. I've known Stephen for 11 to 12 years since he was in high school. Truly a great person with a special care for ASU and its players. Here's the thing. The question I have is, it says that he played for Arizona State's football team from 2005 to 2019, played in 49 games, starting in 35 of them. Okay. When do people go public with what's going on here? When is this going to start happening? I mean, it's already happened. It's already out there. But why is it that so many people who experience this are reluctant? Again, I understand the cognitive dissonance. I get the complete removal from reality. I also get fully not understanding or not knowing. And I understand the business of sudden loss and unexpected loss, and that being confusing in itself and compounding the confusion and the lack of awareness of what goes on in the real world. But why is it that so many of us can see this and so many people can't? That, again, continues to be one of the more mind-boggling questions, but it's both a gift and a curse, as we are well aware. It's that some of us have been chosen to see this, and some people are still too brainwashed to see it. Here's the next one. This is from dailyvoice.com out of Maryland. Ryan Merrimee dies unexpectedly, leaving behind young family. A Maryland family is grieving the sudden loss of a young father who leaves behind a 4-month-old daughter and an unborn child as loved ones rally to support those he loved. Again, unexpectedly, 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 unexpectedly. How many times is that going to be a headline in the news before people start asking what's going on? This is from WTOL 11. WTOL.com out of, I believe, Ohio. Southview football baseball coach Ken Baum dies at 48. The longtime coach is being remembered for his impact on student athletics and the community. The longtime Sylvania Southview High School coach is being remembered for his impact on student athletics after his, quote, unexpected death. Here's another one. This is from Scallywag and Vagabond.com. Quite a website name. Welch college student declared dead after found unresponsive in dorm room, April 20th. Again, Zoe Robinson, Welch college student at Gallatin, Tennessee Christian School, declared dead after found unresponsive in her dorm room. Mount Juliet, Nashville communities celebrate the life of beloved Christian college student, 22 years old. Unresponsive. Okay. Why? Are we asking why? Are parents doing autopsies and then coming back to the same news station that reports these particular passings and saying exactly what they found within these autopsies? Again, another question for anybody would be, if you know that you've taken the shots and someone passes away, wouldn't you want an autopsy? Wouldn't you want to take a slice of any life insurance policy if you have it, or even a slice out of your own bank account and find the real answer? And then get on the internet and type that in? Even get on an AI system and type in, okay, here's the autopsy. What's been going on in the news recently regarding young people or people who are dying unexpectedly, and these happen to be the autopsy results and the symptoms of said person? What does this mean? Can you narrow this down? Even an AI system would probably lean toward the COVID vaccination bioweapon. It would have to. There are too many stories out there like this. This is from AOL.com. Again, I'm not even close to done. Family heartbroken after high school football player 18 dies in his sleep. His kindness touched so many. This was on January 14th of this year. High school athlete in Pennsylvania died unexpectedly. Demarius Nalik Galarza, if I'm saying that right, 18, passed away Saturday night as a result of a medical event, the Cornwall, Lebanon school confirmed. A truly special young man, his mother wrote in a GoFundMe. Died unexpectedly in his sleep, quote unquote. These parents are finding their kids dead, in bed, a lot. Here's another one. The U.S. Sun, the sun.com again. Tragic young baseball star dies suddenly at just 21 as team releases statement, saddened and heartbroken. April 14th, 2016. A young baseball pitcher has died suddenly at the age of just 21. His current and former teams have shared statements on the tragic loss of pitcher Jack Britwell. Again, this was out of Vermont, this particular Jack Britwell. The Sun reached out to the school and the area for the cause of death, because the cause of death hasn't been released. And they basically responded again with the thoughts and prayers, condolences, and all of that. We're all in a state of shock, they said. And then they said, quote, "It's not something you would ever anticipate hearing about a college athlete." Well, no kidding. Which means, what'd you all do? What did you all push on one another? It's Vermont, after all. You know they were shoving the shots down these kids' throats and saying, if you want to play a sport or you want to enroll in this college. Again, that was 5 years ago. It was August of 5 years ago when they dropped the age to receive these shots specifically, these COVID bioweapon shots, below the age of 18 for anybody 18 years and younger. The moment that that happened, which was exactly, I don't want to point this to me, but it was exactly less than 24 hours after I was on Alex Jones's show. Exactly, less than 24 hours after I was on Alex Jones's show, that Pfizer and then Moderna made these shots available along with Johnson & Johnson and the rest to 18 years and younger. And then when that happened, all hell broke loose at the college level. That if you want to attend, you have to take the shots. And if you haven't taken them, even though you've been enrolled, you have to take them, at least 2 shots, by November. So that business of waiting 3 months, 6 months, or what have you, was out the window. That so-called safety stipulation immediately disappeared. And then you had college students going, oh, I don't want to get kicked out of college. I need to stay. This is my future. And then before you know it, they're taking 2 shots of a biological weapon in succession with next to 0 lapse time. to meet a November deadline. The number of dead is incalculable. You can't possibly keep track of this. Here's the next one. This is from Minnesota. Brooklyn Center navigates difficult school year, mourns sudden death of teacher. April 7th of this year. The 2025-26 academic year has proven to be a difficult time for Brooklyn Center Community Schools. Like many other throughout the state, the district saw impacts to in-person attendance amid heightened immigration enforcement in Minnesota, with 52 Brooklyn Center secondary students opting for online learning during Operation Metro's surge. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, they probably blame ICE. I got it. And then they get to this. Amber Gunderson, a special education teacher who primarily served high school students, died unexpectedly February 25th. Staff members were notified of Gunderson's passing the next morning, shortly before welcoming students to the school. The overall fatigue from the Metro surge operation and the instability that it has continued to spread across the metro area, along with the loss of one of our teachers at the high school unexpectedly, morale has been deeply impacted. People are feeling that, Baker said at the March 9th meeting. In situations where tragedy hits, it continues to hit our community. We've become oddly good at mobilizing in situations like this. Why don't you ask why they're dead? Why don't you ask what they've done? What caused the death? Did they kill themselves? Are they so overridden with grief that they take their own life because ICE is showing up? Or are they brainwashed and then they took the COVID shots because you all were pushing the COVID shots because, let's face it, it's Minnesota. And then they ended up again doubling down on the shots and then they ended up dying. I still see people wearing masks. It's 70 plus degrees outside. Sunny. Not a cloud in the sky. Only the occasional chemtrail, and then we get bombarded with chemtrails. But again, people are still wearing masks in grocery stores and out in public. I still see this. And they still don't look around and go, oh, look, most people aren't wearing one. In fact, I'm the only one who's been wearing one all day. And then they actually probably think to themselves that they have something on the rest of us, that they know more about what's really going on than everybody else. It's just remarkable to me. Again, I can get in a time machine and I can go back to 2020. And ladies and gentlemen, I remember all of it like it was yesterday. I remember all of it like it happened 5 minutes ago. You talk about a psychological operation with deadly consequences. Nobody's going to convince me. I've read the documents. You know it. I have the documents on my website. No one's going to convince me this was not a coordinated depopulation program. That's exactly what it was. Driven by societal peer pressure, media, governmental peer pressure, institutional peer pressure, familial peer pressure, friend peer pressure, ruining endless relationships, causing copious amounts of stress, endless death, permanent illness. And people are like, welp, it happens. Oh, well, we'll agree to disagree. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? If you don't laugh, you'll cry your eyes out. Here's from the postcrescent.com. I'm not even close to done. Lawrence University professor Danielle Joyner dies while leading spring break trip. April 2nd, died on spring break. On a trip with other people, other students. Lawrence professor unexpectedly died March 20th, Lawrence University announced in a news release March 31st. Danielle Joyner, an associate professor of art history, who has taught at the university since 2018, suffered a cardiac arrest while leading a group of Lawrence students on a spring break trip in New York City. The release said she was 52 years old. One look at this woman, and this checks out. Yeah. Again, no offense, but judge the book by its cover. This one checks out. She was jabbed. 100%. She fell for this hook, line, and sinker. Here's the next one. KSN NBC Channel 6, 4stateshomepage.com. J teacher experiences medical emergency, dies in his classroom. A J Oklahoma teacher. Good Lord. A J School's art instructor died on Tuesday following a sudden medical emergency in his classroom before classes started, said J Superintendent Leanne Barnwell. This happened on March 31st. Kim Koran, if I'm saying that right, Koran, also known by his students as Mr. C, was also the robotics and esports coach and a strong advocate for Native American culture. Again, the superintendent put out a letter, among other things, saying, "We extend our heartfelt condolences and prayers to Mr. Karan's family, friends, students, and all who loved him and knew him. As we grieve together, counseling services will be available for support and our students and staff during this difficult time. We ask that you keep his loved ones and our school community in your thoughts and prayers. Respectfully, Leanne Barnwell, Superintendent, J Public Schools." Quick question, Superintendent. What did you all push back in 2020 and 2021 that would have led to such a thing? What basket did you put all of your eggs in? What pressure did you engage in with staff members and students and families alike? And what behavior did you participate in, and behaviors plural, that you've never engaged in before ever? They just can't see it. They don't see it. Chattanoogan.com, the next one, funeral service is April 12th for county deputy who died unexpectedly. Again, this is a police officer, a Chad Allen, who went by the nicknames Trooper or Cheeseburger. Well, that's not a good nickname. He's not a big-looking guy, though. 54 years old and lived in Ottawa, if I'm saying that right. He served apparently in Hamilton County, Tennessee, and there you go. Again, what did law enforcement agencies push on people? Push on themselves and their own. Here's ABC 13 News, WLOS.com. Reams Creek Fire Department Chief Chris Dorsey dies at 45. March 24th of 2016. This is, Buncombe County, North Carolina. It's with a heavy heart that we acknowledge the recent loss of Chief Chris Dorsey. Impacted all of us, both personally and professionally. Here's another one from South Florida, Broward County. BSO firefighter and paramedic dies after suffering medical emergency while on duty at FLL. It was around 6:55 a.m. on Sunday when deputies and fire rescue personnel responded to a medical call at the Palm Garage at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, Broward Sheriff Dr. Gregory Toney announced. When they arrived, they found firefighter-paramedic Stephen Lepselter, there we go, unresponsive on the ground. He was rushed to Broward Health Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. He was 54 years old. Cause of death was not immediately provided. I think we can take a guess. Broward County, Florida, firefighter. That checks out. COVID shots. Got it. Here's the next one, CBSNews.com. Dallas police veteran dies after in-flight medical emergency. This is a devastating loss, quote unquote, April 15th of this year. Calling the loss devastating for the agency, Dallas Police Chief Daniel C. Comu, if I'm saying that right, announced Wednesday that a veteran officer died after suffering a medical emergency while off duty on an airplane en route to Europe. Blood clotting, maybe? Senior Corporal Christopher Blow, who had served the department since 2013, was pronounced dead after the in-flight medical emergency. Yeah. Again, I think I've said it here. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I'm just saying, you've heard it here too. There are too many people that this would not be witnessed by endless people in endless public spaces. Buses, airports, airplanes, schools, workplace environments, pick one, stadiums, on television, live on the radio, broadcasts, you name it. You can pick an environment. Never before in the history of humanity has the recorded dropping of human bodies happened so frequently on the record with copious amounts of witnesses ever in the history of humanity. Here's the next one, St. Louis, ksdk.com. NBC Channel 5, your trusted name in news, on your side. We're devastated, quote unquote. Longtime St. Louis officer dies after medical emergency during training exercise. St. Louis police officer Gregory Triplett died Wednesday after a medical emergency. He served with the department for nearly 32 years. Cause of death? Unknown. Didn't say where the training exercise was taking place. They're keeping that one hush-hush. Wonder why. Could be the thing you all forced on everybody. Here's the next one, EMS1.com, LODD, Pennsylvania, I assume this is Pennsylvania. Yep, there we go. Dover, Pennsylvania, EMT dies after medical emergency while on duty. EMT Kevin Bream, 60 years old, died after suffering a medical emergency at the Dover Area Ambulance Club station. So, you know there were witnesses. Again, no one asking questions? Is nobody even wondering? This is corrections1.com. New Jersey corrections officer dies after medical emergency while driving to work. Corrections officer Isaiah Hampton Watkins, 36, driving to Camden County Department of Corrections when he suffered a medical emergency. This was on March 22nd of this year. Cause of death? And doesn't say. Here's the next one. The American River Current, the student voice of American River College since 1955 out of California. American River College student dies after medical emergency on campus. After a medical emergency, an ARC student was taken by ambulance April 2nd of 2026. Sadly, the student's situation was critical and we were heartbroken to learn that she did not survive. Lisa Cardoza, ARC president, said in an email to the ARC community. Cardoza has been in contact with the student's family and will share more information as permitted. Oh, I bet she doesn't. I bet she doesn't. Here's the next one. Channel 12 KFVS First Alert, your first alert station.com. Captain Tommy Shine of Wentzville FD dies after medical emergency. Healthy looking guy, but he looks like a team player. And we know what that means. April 13th, St. Charles County, Missouri. Wentzville Fire Department Captain Tommy Shine, partly known for his heroic save of a teenager from a frozen lake in Lake St. Louis, has died. Died suddenly Sunday evening after suffering a medical emergency. Again, the media usage of these terms. The died suddenly, the died unexpectedly, the medical emergency. If I were drawing a Venn diagram, they'd all have something in common, or certainly a flowchart. You would have to, again, use the scientific method, which isn't complicated, to see that these dots are on top of each other and don't need connecting. Here's the last one. Shreveport City Marshal's Assistant Chief Kirby Dawson dies after medical emergency. April 6, 2026, Shreveport, Louisiana, an assistant chief in the Shreveport City Marshal's office has died following a medical emergency, officials confirmed. Assistant Chief Kirby Dawson, 54, died this morning after a sudden medical emergency, according to department officials. Again, cause of death, not said, not known, not discussed, not told. I'll end with this. I've brought up and played numerous audio from numerous people in all walks of life. all around the world on this show who have, again, taken the shots, fell ill. They know people who have. They either have connected the dots, they know it's the COVID shots, they haven't connected the dots, they have no idea, or they suspect it, and they sort of sit somewhere in the middle. I don't wish death on these people. I certainly do not, because I'm not a monster. Regardless of how evil these people have been to us and endless other people, I still don't wish any of that on them. I would rather wish that they recognize the truth. That's what I would wish for. And that's what I pray for, is that they openly come to grips with the reality that this is what is causing all of this death and all of this permanent illness and all of this fast-tracked cancer. Let me give you another example. Bob Kavoyan is the one half of the Bob and Tom Show, a comedy radio show, again, that's been around for a very long time, based out of Indianapolis, Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. I used to listen to the show a lot. Bob Kavoyan just died this past week also. I think he was 75 years old, diagnosed with cancer a few years ago, and then died. Again, he was a smoker of cigarettes for a long time, then stopped, gave up the radio show, whatever it was, 10 some odd years ago, got engaged, got married, left the show, traveled the nation and the country with his wife. And then that's kind of where the story stops. And then you're like, okay, well, how did he behave in 2020? Did he and his wife take the shots? Did they fall for it? That would have put him around 70 years old. And then after that, he gets cancer. And then after that, he dies. Again, the speed with which people are being diagnosed with illness, and then once they're diagnosed, and then the speed with which they pass after being diagnosed is also unheard of in human history. It's too quick. Sometimes, yes, it's prolonged, and sometimes it isn't. But as we also know, even if individuals had these conditions, whether they be, again, diabetes, heart conditions, cancer, autoimmune conditions, you can pick any one. Their primary care physicians, the media, and endless so-called doctors on TV were all telling people to take the COVID shots. They were all saying this. Well, you have a condition, and the COVID shots will magically help you given your current state of affairs. They will prevent things happening to you that will be far worse than if you didn't take them, which was a complete lie. Because wherever in any medical book does it say, take as much medicine as humanly possible to prevent anything from happening to you, even while you have current conditions? Just pile it all in. Open your mouth, roll up your sleeves, the whole thing. Where does it say that? Did I miss that part? Again, I'm not a medical doctor, but I don't have to be. I'm just simply asking the question, is that taught in medical school? How many medical students have read through that chapter? Does that chapter exist? Fill your gullet with as many pills as humanly possible, certainly during a medical emergency, or in a so-called pandemic, so saith the strangers on TV and your government. It's absolutely astounding that people can't put this together when it's so obvious what's going on. Young children dying of heart attacks. That doesn't happen. It just doesn't. So I'll really end with this then. I would encourage people to pray for these people. Pray for them. Pray for all of them. Because prayer works. And Christ heals people. I came across a YouTube video the other day, a woman sitting in her car, and she tells the following story. She says that she went in for a routine checkup and a blood test, and she had an MRI on her midsection because she was feeling sick. They detected cancer, and I believe it was pancreatic, if I'm not mistaken. And she's married and has a young child, and she started to break down a little bit. And she said more than one doctor looked at the MRI and said, yes, that's pancreatic cancer. Let's move quickly on this. We think it might be okay, but we're not sure, but let's just move quickly. And so she sat with her husband alone, and they prayed. And as they were doing that, she could physically feel something shift in her pancreas, in her midsection of her thorax. She goes to the next appointment, I believe the very next day, where again they do another scan with another doctor to check and make sure, and she has no detection of cancer whatsoever. It's gone completely. There are endless stories like that. Endless stories. Which again, in the game of qualitative reasoning and analysis, you have to examine all of those situations, the frequency of those situations. You have to highlight the codes and the consistencies and then arrive at themes of those situations. And then you have to again determine conclusions based on numerous people saying the same things over and over and over again. Because there are endless situations, too many to even count, all over the world of that happening. But a person shouldn't necessarily wait until they are ill to pray for healing. Anybody can do it anytime. And then a human being can quite literally walk throughout the existence of their entire life not knowing that they are alive because people have prayed for them to remain alive and for them to be healed. Specifically, again, for Jesus Christ to take the poison out of these people's bloodstreams. I've prayed for that, for people that I know, my own family members, you name it. Endless people, complete strangers. And I'll continue to do so. Because that's all that I can do. Is beyond educate and try to get people to pay attention to this and see the real world that we live in. All you can do is, again, pray for them and try to point people in the right direction. But prayer works, there's no doubt about it. That's undeniable, which means if it works, then Christ exists. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave it there. Thanks again to Emily for sending me a lot of those particular stories. Overwhelming as always, and horrifically consistent, I should say. But either way, always pay attention to what's going on in your area, again, with individuals that you know and people that you hear from, because sometimes, again, they'll let it slip and they'll let things out about what's happening with themselves or with other people. And it's important to pay attention to, and then it's even more importantly for those individuals to start asking questions, or even the people that they're communicating to ask questions. Because again, there are cures out there. There are cures for ailments. There are ways to decrease this amount of poison in these people's bloodstreams. There's a way to do some repair here. Again, if you push the wireless body area network to the side for just a second, even though that's terrible, and these shots certainly participate in that entire apparatus, if you push that to the side just for a minute, you can still, again, subside a lot of these symptoms by changing what a person ingests and what a person does and does not do. Again, chlorine dioxide, ivermectin, fenbendazole, menbendazole. There are endless things out there that exist. Not just, again, for decreasing the amount of toxins in the body from the COVID shots, even nicotine, as I've brought up here on the show, but of course with cancers as well. So there are endless options out there, ladies and gentlemen. A person just has to ask. And they have to know who to ask. So again, if you're curious, check out the medical documents tab on my website, AmericanEducationFM.com, and there are endless resources there as well. Also, one last thing, if you want to check out the most recent Substack I put together about Casey Putsch and Vivek Ramaswamy, please be my guest. Ohio is in dire straits here when it comes to this primary election, and Vivek is falling out of favor with endless people, but unfortunately Casey Putsch isn't getting a lot of promotion. He is on X, which is great, But people are already voting here in Ohio. It's early voting as always, and that vote for who's going to be the next governor of Ohio is on May 5th. If Vivek wins, we're in deep trouble because Amy Acton's not going to win unless there's voter fraud. So Casey Putsch is the man. He's the most based option, and he's the one who it has to be. So with that said, thank you for listening as always, and I'll catch you on Friday. Peace. Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.